Shall we begin?
This is the Drunken Fist Podcast with your host, David Bordeaux and Justin Plavic. This podcast is made possible by the fans of the show. For more information, visit drunkenfistpodcast.com/fans. All right, Justin, apparently we had a recording glitch for the first round. So we're going to pretend like this is the brand new, we haven't done this before. Justin, I know I'm excited. How are you? Are you excited about this new podcast?
I'm so excited. I've been waiting forever for this to come out, and I'm so glad we finally got the opportunity to get together and do it.
Absolutely. Now, for you listeners who may not be aware, this podcast show or this show or whatever is an evolution of an old show that I used to do called The David Bordeaux Show. And Justin was the one of my guests, well, a couple times on there, and the first time he was on, it was the most downloaded episode out of the entire show's history. And every time he's been on since, the downloads have surpassed all the others. Beyond that, but sorry, I've received messages saying that from listeners that really like when Justin's on, and they say that it seems like we have good chemistry and such. So when we Justin and I were talking, and Justin had an idea for a podcast, and that is pretty much what this show is. Justin, would you like to explain the idea that you had? And that is a rhetorical question because I'm going to take a drink of my beer, so you should just go ahead and talk.
Well, I did come to David one day, and whether he wants to admit it or not, we are buddies. And I was telling him I had an awesome idea. Why don't we make a podcast where we just talk about martial arts, but we drank beer while doing it?
Now, Justin, when you said beer, you had me at that. I mean, we didn't even have to have a podcast, but the whole idea of drinking beer and a podcast, that sold me. But like one of the things that sold me is, I really enjoy when we have the opportunity to hang out. Fuck it, I'll just go this other direction. Some of you who may not know, I am broadcasting from Columbus, Ohio, and Justin, you're halfway on the other side of the country in Arizona. Where are you at?
I'm in Peoria, Arizona, so I'm all the way in the armpit of America.
So we don't often have the opportunity to hang out as much as we used to. And just the idea of sitting back and talking and shooting the shit about martial arts and things of that sort while drinking beer, talking with Justin definitely interested me. And the whole idea of a podcast where you have two martial arts instructors just hanging out, drinking beers or whatever, and talking about martial arts. I was super stoked about that because I know when I was coming up as a student, and I am still a student now. However, when I was first a student, there was no such thing as the internet, and the only information that you have or had at that time to martial arts was either your instructors, fellow martial arts students that hopefully were not just the only ones in your class. Hopefully you had the opportunity to talk to other martial artists, and any books that you could possibly get in the library. And for me, I would have killed for an opportunity to just hang out with a couple of martial arts instructors, drinking some beers. Well, especially back then because I was 8, but just sitting back and listening to instructors talk about their thoughts and ideas of martial arts. And so the whole idea of this, of being able to put this on a podcast, is just really exciting for me, and hopefully it's exciting for you, the listeners, or use the listener, you all of you, the listeners. And in our first take, when we had a recording glitch, Justin made the comment about the idea of listeners writing in, having questions and such for us to answer. And definitely that's something that I would really appreciate, is if you have any questions, or if there's a particular topic that you would like for Justin and myself to address, go ahead and send that in. You can go to the website at drunkenfistpodcast.com. There's a form on there to get in touch with us. You can send your question or your topic. Or if you just want to shoot an email, a really easy way to do this is to send an email to fans@drunkenfistpodcast.com and shoot us a message. Go ahead, but shoot us a question or a topic that you would like for us to discuss, and we'll go ahead and do that. So yeah, I'm really excited. So excited. I'm going to take another sip of my beer here.
Good call.
So, let's see. We already talked essentially about what this podcast is about. It's us sitting back, having a drink, and chatting about a wide variety of martial arts aspects. For those listeners who came from, or who used to be listeners of the David Bordeaux Show, you're probably aware of who I am and who Justin is. However, for those of you who are brand new, you may not have any idea who we are and why we're doing what we're doing. So I'm going to pass this over to you, Justin. Can you just take a few moments to give a little background about yourself and your martial arts training and anything else that you think is worthwhile enough for me to drink some more beer?
You drink your beer. I'll take over from here.
Cheers.
I'm Justin Plavik. I enjoy long walks on the beach.
See, that's why I like you.
Just kidding. Well, I mean, I do, but let's be honest. All right. I am a Sandan in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. For those of you that don't speak Japanese, that's a 3rd degree black belt. I also do Wing Chun Kung Fu. I am instructor level. And I've been doing martial arts since I was in middle school. I started because, let's be honest, I had a couple bullies. Martial arts gave me the discipline and courage I needed to stand up to just life situations. And I took that a little too far now, because martial arts is pretty much my life and a passion. And that's really all I care about nowadays, besides, my wife and friends. But that's me. How about you, David? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm David Bordeaux. I like beer. Well, let's start from the beginning. I got my start in martial arts fairly young, around 8 years old, give or take. The reason, or like my interest in martial arts, started by the simple fact that I'm an only child raised by a single mother, and while I didn't have the problem or challenge, if you will, of needing self-defense, I was always concerned that, it's one of those what ifs. What if I need to protect myself? And I had the stereotypical thought or idea that, that's what your dad teaches you. And since I didn't have a dad or father at home, I was really concerned that, oh man, if I were to get into some sort of conflict, I don't know how to handle myself. So I've always wanted to take martial arts to basically to know how to protect myself. And when I talk to other martial artists, a lot of times it seems like their interest, it sometimes comes from situations of being bullied and that, but the others come from watching either kung fu movies or shows or whatever. And I was a little bit backwards with that, because I had an interest in martial arts, but since I didn't have the ability to pursue it on my own, I went to things like the movies, the old kung fu movies and the Bruce Lee movies, and watched what they did. Now, being young, I didn't understand that it was choreographed and highly unrealistic, but that's all that I had. until my mom one day found a program at the YMCA. They called it karate, or karate as we say it in the US, but they called it karate, and my mom knew that I wanted to do it, so she took me there, and I was super happy, and I threw myself into it, and I got, man, it. I don't even remember what degree I got, or it wasn't a degree, but what rank I got. But unfortunately, and unbeknownst to myself at the time, it was just one of those introductory offers where it was super cheap just to kind of get you in the door and hopefully hooked. So then you would register, the fee would go up, and, ideally you would continue. Well, my mom and I didn't come from a financially well off situation. And I don't remember how I found out about this setup. But I did find out before testing for whatever rank I was going for that it was coming to an end. And I really wanted to go. I really wanted to keep going. But before that, before the thing, I told my mom I didn't want to go anymore. And for me, it was essentially a way to kind of hopefully not make her feel bad that she couldn't afford the lessons anymore, although I really wanted them, but I didn't want her to feel that I was hurt or depressed or anything like that I couldn't continue. So, so for my last testing, I didn't go. And that it was kind of rough for me, but then throughout time, I discovered wrestling in middle school, and I was able to do that because we were within walking distance of my school. It was free. And so I got to become introduced to grappling, and I love grappling. It's just an awesome experience. And then after wrestling, I was introduced to some instructors that kind of took pity on me, and I took a variety of different martial arts. Oh yeah, going back to that whole karate thing that I was saying at the YMCA, come to find out, it wasn't karate itself. It was a form of Taekwondo. It's like Mudu Kwan Taekwondo, or Taekwondo Mudu Kwan. I know there's a difference in the way that you say it, as in like if Mudu Kwan comes first, then it's a particular. But anyway, that was what it was, but they advertised it as karate because, a lot of people know what karate is as opposed to Taekwondo or even Mudu Kwan. Well, anyway, going back or fast forwarding again past the wrestling years, I met a couple of different instructors of a couple of different arts, and they took pity on me and kind of taught me for free some things here and there. And then I got older. I was able to afford martial arts, and I met at the time my future wife. And prior to her becoming my wife, she was married to an individual who was a karate instructor. And I went to his school and absolutely fell in love with the culture there, the instructors. I mean, it also helped that the instructor was a good friend of mine. And that was in Shuriru Karate. And I really appreciated it. But then I got to a point where I started to kind of struggle because I question things. I very much am an analytical individual. And if something doesn't make sense to me, I need to find out what's going on and why. And I was starting to find that my questions were going unanswered, and I was becoming unsatisfied with it. Well, time goes on. My instructor's instructor, the guy who ran the school, he decided to change styles altogether because he was doing Kung Fu for a little while. So then he decided to do this hybrid karate, Kung Fu, mixed martial arts, whatever. And I just wasn't interested in that. So then I took off, and so did my friend who was my main instructor. Time went on. He opened up a school. I joined up with him, I was his business partner, and then I became an assistant instructor. Time goes on. I bounced around to different martial arts even while I was doing karate because I just wasn't completely satisfied with some of the things. So I've done a little bit of Wing Chun. I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've done a little bit of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. I've had I started to take Tai Chi, which I still do now, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. Anyway, so I started to do these other things, and then I went to Iraq. And right before I went to Iraq, I sold my half of the karate school to my partner because I didn't know what might happen. And so when I was in Iraq, I met up with these 9 different guys who trained at. I was at Camp Taji in Iraq, and there was a gym there that they called the House of Pain, and there happened to be 9 different guys from, most of us were from the Army. There were a couple of Navy guys there and some Air Force guys, and they all had different styles that they were doing. But the really cool thing that for me, this was like a fundamental turning point in my life, specifically with martial arts. I was introduced to different styles like, combat Hapkido, some Aikido. What was some of the other things? I don't even remember now. But what? I wish. I'm really interested in that. And I think we probably do need to address the whole name of this podcast and our styles of martial arts in a little bit here. But anyway, what we did though, when we came together, we freely exchanged techniques. And after a while, I started to notice that there, like, regardless of the styles that we came from, we all had similar techniques. I mean, like, there are techniques that are found in combat Hapkido, that are found in Aikido, that are found in karate, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. And another thing that a lot of us had in common, especially those of us that were in the Army, had Army combatives, which was primarily based at the time on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But the thing is that we all had kind of common techniques that we were really familiar with and that we more or less all had in our different styles. And that really opened me up and answered a lot of questions that I had about my own karate. So when I came back from that, I really dove deep into karate with a greater understanding than I had. And then I met a whole bunch of different karate instructors that thought the way that I did and that really questioned this whole, what they call the 3Ks of kumite, kata, and kihon. They really kind of questioned that and they broke it down and just the whole world exploded. Well, anyhow, I'm going to stop with my history lesson of myself, but all of that pretty much has culminated to I'm now a third degree black belt in Hapkido, second degree black belt in karate, specifically American freestyle karate, and I'm a level 1 instructor in Chung Yong Tai Chi Chuan, and I pronounce that horribly, so I do apologize for the Tai Chi practitioners that will murder me for that. Oh my gosh, I know. So I just limit it to Tai Chi. Level 1 Tai Chi instructor. But something that I really do think that we need to address is the whole Drunken Fist thing. Justin, do you have any Drunken Fist Kung Fu background?
I have 0.
As do I.
I think the real idea comes from 2 respectable level martial arts instructors coming together and sharing a conversation and a drink. I think so much history is done through oral. You wouldn't know anything about the world unless somebody passed down the information somehow, and then somebody recorded it. So that's kind of what we're trying to do.
It's essentially a play on the words, the whole idea of Drunken Fist, sitting back, having a couple of drinks and talking about martial arts. I know that there's going to be listeners that are like, wait a minute, you guys are martial arts instructors and here you are emphasizing or glorifying alcohol, like what area does alcohol play in healthy martial arts training in that? And what if anything do you have to say about the question that might be brought up there, Justin?
I mean, that's a personal choice. For me, I've been brought up with alcohol in pretty much the training. And I know that sounds horrible, but every gym I've ever been to, even when I was a kid, I didn't partake, of course, because I was underage. But after I was of age, I mean, I dabbled in all kinds of arts. I'll just list a couple. I never really ranked in them. I just wanted to be a part of the art and see what they had to offer. I'm not very narrow-minded. I don't want to be like, oh, Wing Chun's the best. Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is the best. There's other stuff out there.
Right.
For instance, I did a couple of years with Aikido, and every single practice, we would all go out to the bar and have a drink and talk about, what we practiced that day or what's coming up in the future, or just hanging out. It was a bonding experience. And then even, I'm going to leave names out of it for now. If we want to talk about it later, if someone wants to email me, I'll talk about it later, but I got to get their permission first. But I have a very close friend of mine where he's a 8th degree black belt, and his sensei, you could pay him in 90 proof liquor or 100 proof liquor, and you'd be filled up for the month. Man. You'd be fine. As long as you brought him liquor, you could be trained. And he was one of the top martial artists of his time. Like, he was amazing. He trained Olympians.
I think I know where I was going. Instead of charging cash, I probably should have charged alcohol.
I mean, that's where it goes anyway. Just kidding, but kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
And and then with me, I mean, it's just, I use it as it's a social aspect. It's a great, it's been called liquid courage. We do this and we can talk about things that we normally wouldn't talk about on another podcast. Yeah. I will probably on more than one occasion put my foot in my mouth, and that's going to be awesome. I don't care.
Also, speaking of that, general warning, even though I didn't warn at the beginning of this, and you probably already heard some, there may be some adult language like cursing. So if you're listening with your children, or if you are a child, get your parents' permission. And if you're a parent, listen to it first before you let your child listen to this.
How about you just fucking stop swearing, David?
Okay. Yeah, or you could just fucking do that. So with the whole idea of the alcohol, the way that I look at it, like you said, Justin, there is a decent history of alcohol as it relates to martial arts, especially being a karate guy. There are examples of karate history where there will be instructors that would have or masters that would imbibe and go out and pick fights. Chokimotobu is one that is rumored to have done that. There are also instructors that drink to intoxication and then train, because it's much like the idea of training until exhausting yourself and then training or then practicing, because it's only at a point where you're at your lowest will you really see where your training comes in. Or how applicable it is. And, I'm not encouraging either of those type of behaviors, to get drunk and then go pick fights, or to get drunk and then practice training. Although if you're an adult, you have your own mind to make up regarding those things.
Right, do what you want, but have fun being in jail.
Or, just be responsible. Be intelligent about it. It's something too that I've had a few of my clients, a few of my fitness clients talk to me about is alcohol and exercise. And that really does kind of play a part with regards to what we're talking about now. And there are some there are some things that I would like to clear up in case anybody has heard these. There's a couple of things where people say that beer is full of electrolytes, so it's a good after exercise drink or post workout drink. And while beer does contain electrolytes, the greatest amount of electrolytes that it contains it's potassium.
Yes.
You don't lose a lot of potassium while you're exercising. What you do lose, you tend to lose more sodium chloride. And that's the main electrolyte that you lose through sweating. So, and the thing is beer in general doesn't necessarily provide that. And while you are drinking, your body is using a lot of vitamins, especially B vitamins in particular, to help metabolize the alcohol and with the extra strain that it puts on your liver. And so a lot of the resources that would go to helping your body grow, like say, for example, muscle and repair and that, those vitamins and such are going to help metabolize the alcohol and to protect, to the best of your ability, the liver and the strain that the alcohol puts on it. And there are some people that I've had a couple of clients that tell me how they drink a bottle of wine to help them with their heart issues. And I'm like, science kind of is there, but not the way that you think. For one, drinking a bottle of wine is going to negate any health effects that you might experience. But like one of the things that people cite is the coronary, Jesus. The coronary.
There you go. Coronary. I was like, where's he going with this?
Woo! All right, hold on. I didn't drink enough. Hold
I
on.
was about to say, take a sip. Sip break. Hold on.
But the coronary protection, and there really is no research that shows that alcohol helps with coronary protection. So, and there are others that will say whether or not drinking is good for you or not, especially dietitians. Registered dietitians seem to have a very huge negative view on alcohol and exercise. But the what I find funny is that there is an okay amount of research that is out and has been out for several years talking about how alcohol can and does provide some healthy benefits. Like, for example, there is a myth that beer dehydrates you. And there's a lot of dietitians that will say that alcohol in general is dehydrating. And that's like the opposite of what you want if you are, working out. Because if you're working out and you say you drink a beer or you drink a glass of wine, the hypothesis is that it dehydrates you, and you definitely don't want that after working out. But there was a study back, it was like, in 2015, the Journal of International Society of Sports Nutrition, I think that was it. It's been a while, but they found that when some of their participants drank what was considered a beer with added sodium, there was remarkable differences of their levels of dehydration versus the control group. So now the control group just drank mineral water. And then the athletes consumed mineral water and beer and after the workout, and they found that those that drank beer had greater hydration. Now, what I might question is, was it the addition of both the mineral water and the beer? Like they received extra hydration. So is that it? But there was another study back in, I think it was 2015 as well. I think this was the Journal of Sports Nutrition and Exercise Metabolism. They had their own study, and they found that a light beer with added sodium actually helped with fluid retention after a workout. So essentially a light beer, and if you're old enough to drink and you go to one of these, what we'll call them dive bars, you might find that older gentleman in the corner drinking maybe like a Budweiser or something like that, and you'll see him take a salt shaker and a couple of tilts of salt into that beer. Well, the study shows that if you were to do that, just one, after your workout, you will actually become hydrated better than, say, not. Now, that's not saying that,
Yeah,
hey,
and everybody's health is
drinking
different.
water.
I'm not saying drink or don't
Absolutely.
drink. Me personally, my blood pressure is skyrocketing.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's because of drinking, but I can tell you I'm 30 years old and I'm very hypertensive. And I do drink a lot.
Well,
so I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I can tell you that there is definitely science based on drinking and the help with high blood pressure, because there is available evidence from studies that suggest that if you exercise and you have moderate alcohol consumption, that actually has favorable effects on the thinning of blood, which helps to lower high blood pressure.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I just need to work out more.
I mean, definitely working out helps. And, if you do work out, there are some studies that show that after exercising, if you were to drink moderate amount of beer or alcohol just in general, that actually helps with DOMS, which is the delayed onset muscle soreness, and that helps better than placebo after a hard training session. So if you do decide to start exercising more and you really hit it and you're concerned that you might have some muscle soreness, drinking alcohol, the studies have shown that helps to reduce the perceived muscle soreness. Now, one may argue, yeah, while you're intoxicated, you don't feel it quite as much, but the effects last after the consumption of the beer and after the alcohol, and after the alcohol has been metabolized. And there's also concern, though, that like when you exercise and when you really get a good exercise and like your muscles do kind of have that soreness, what helps to build muscle is actually inflammatory antibody, or excuse me, oh man, now I'm just totally blanking here. Inflammation is actually really good to help build muscle, because the inflammation in the muscle sends signals to the brain that, hey, there's something wrong. We need to battle this. And by battling it, it helps to get rid of the inflammation and build the muscle stronger. Well, what's really cool, though, is that there's another study that shows that hops in beer specifically helps to reduce acute inflammation. And that helps overall in that if there is acute inflammation in one particular area, that can cause detriment to the overall health of muscle, like the inflammation that happens in the muscles after working out. But hops will help to reduce that type of inflammation so that the body can better work. So if you decide to start working again or exercising harder than what you do now, you might want to think about having a drink. But hey, talk to your doctor. I'm definitely not a doctor. I just do tons of research on exercise and martial arts and everything of that sort.
I just play one on TV.
Well, that, and hey, your heart appreciates a good drink every once in a while. So, and if you happen to be in risk for heart disease, there are studies that show how alcohol does have a positive effect with raising your HDL too. So,
right on.
So that's that. So for anybody who has concerns about alcohol and martial arts and are we setting out a negative message, I guess you have to use, your own judgment. We're two adults hanging out, drinking, talking about martial arts. I definitely have science on my side with the information that I have and where I go with this. So, but ultimately, you're an adult, so you have to do what's best for you.
Yeah, I just drank. You like it or you don't.
There you go. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for today. We pretty much said what the show is about. We even gave them a little taste on how we talk about subjects. Is there anything else that we really should let the listeners know or to say before we wrap up here?
Honestly, I think that's pretty good. Just to give them a little warm up of what's to come. There's going to be a lot of great topics that we're going to talk about. This is just kind of a feeler episode. And again, if anybody ever wants us to hear us talk about something, please let us know. We'll love to hear about it, and we'll do our best to give you what you want.
Yeah, definitely go to drunkenfistpodcast.com. There is a contact form on that website. You can drop us a message there, either with a question or a topic that you would like for us to talk about. Or if email's more your style, just drop us a line at fans@drunkenfistpodcast.com. And yeah, we'll get to it, and we'll get to it. Speaking of getting to it, man, this beer, the 10.5% alcohol is definitely getting to me a little bit.
That is extreme right there, man. I didn't know you were doing that.
Oh man, it's Jackie O's. It's a stout. Jackie O's is a brewery here in Ohio. It's something that I'm really working on doing. I've been born and raised in Ohio. I come from Northwest Ohio, and now I'm living in Columbus. And in Columbus, I mean, oh my goodness, if you didn't love Ohio before, you better pretend like you do, because in Columbus, there's just huge pride. But the bigger thing is that there are a lot of breweries right here in Central Ohio, and I feel kind of bad because when I lived up in Bowling Green and the Toledo area, I drank a lot of Michigan beers, and it has nothing to do with the rivalry between Ohio State and University of Michigan and all that jazz, although I am a fan of the Wolverines, go blue. But there are a lot of awesome Michigan breweries, and I was real reluctant. I shouldn't say reluctant, like uneducated with regards to Ohio beers. And sure, I've had Great Lakes Brewing. And the samples that I've had from them, they just didn't really, I don't know, touch my fancy or whatever. So I really stuck to a lot of my Michigan breweries. But now that I'm down here in Columbus, and oh my goodness, there are so many breweries just in Central Ohio. I've made it an effort to really drink Ohio. I mean, I'm not staying away from Michigan by any stretch, because God, I love their beer, but I'm really doing what I can to explore the Ohio breweries. And Jackie O's, and I don't have the bottle in front of me, so I can't even remember what this particular one is, but it's a stout. It's very delicious. I'm a big stout and porter fan myself, so a lot of the beers that I drink are stouts and porters, or even like barley ales when it comes wintertime. But yeah, this particular one is pretty good. And I do have another bottle here. It happens to be the Great Lakes Brewing Company, the one that I said I'm not a huge fan of. This one's ready to go as soon as I finish this glass here. But the one I have online, or not online, I think we need to wrap this up. But the one I have ready to go is the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is their porter. Oof. And I've had that before, but it's been a long while since I've had it. So I'm going to try it again, especially after drinking the stout, because I'm kind of primed for it. So we'll see how it goes. And maybe on the next episode, I'll tell you how it is, or I won't, because I'll forget. But who knows?
The Guinness is my jam. And being from Ohio and then living in Arizona, I will admit I miss the Great Lakes Brewery so much.
You like Great Lakes? What is there a particular one that you like?
Yes, Nosferatu.
See, I like the name. And again, I've had it a while ago, so I can't honestly give you like, yes, I like it. No, I don't. And or for what reasons. So I'll give it a try again. What style is Nosferatu?
Oh, dude, I can't even remember. I haven't had it since, and it's a seasonal one. I think you can only get it around like October, November area. And
Okay.
I think they only come in like 4 a pack. You can't even get a 6
okay.
pack.
Well, I'll definitely keep my eye out, because if you like it, then I'll have to go for it. Now, see, I'm not really much of a Guinness fan, and there's so
How
many
dare
people
you?
See, yeah, I mean, there's people that say that, and whatever.
You're
And
not Irish enough.
what,
Actually, I
whatever.
don't even think Irish people like Guinness.
Well, okay. So for the listeners, this is something that you're going to be used to while we're talking about beer right now, and whatever. I will be known to say blasphemous things. I will outright just say shit that it flies in the face of what other people believe, and it's not as a thing of disrespect. It's just a matter of this is what's up. And while this has to deal with beer, this is what the fuck is up. Guinness, it's okay, but
Shut
it's
your whore mouth.
all right. Well, whatever. But it's such a
We're going
light.
to talk about this every fucking episode.
It's such a light-bodied stout that I don't even know why they call it a stout. Now, I will tell you that I do appreciate when it's I appreciate the nitrogen. The nitrogen gives it that really awesome mouthfeel that carbon dioxide does not give. And just about any beverage I've ever had that's been distributed with nitrogen. Okay, I think this podcast needs to end. But anyway, with nitrogen, it has a very creamy mouthfeel, and I appreciate that. And that's really the only thing that I like about Guinness's stout. But hey, the next time
Left hand makes a good nitro stout too.
Who does?
Left hand.
Now, I don't know that I've had any of their nitro or nitro.
Yeah, nitro milk stout from Left Hand is actually pretty decent.
Now, their left hand stout, their left hand milk stout.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's a nitro? Because
yeah, it's a nitro.
Well, fuck you then. I like that one too. That one is good. Okay, so apparently,
unless they make one that's just milk stout, but I'm pretty sure they just make them nitro milk stout.
The more that I'm talking about it, I think you're right, and I think that I think the podcast is done.
Yeah.
All right, so
until next time, folks. Thanks for listening.
Well, I do have to say though, Justin, when you're in Ohio next and we get together, we'll have to do a stout showdown. So you bring you do your Guinness and what other stout you think is like some primo stuff, and I'll do mine. And hey, if you're here in Ohio, we should just totally do some episodes and let that happen.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Well, I don't know about live. We'll record it live together in the same state while we're doing
best quote ever.
A showdown, a stout showdown. All right, guys. So I guess that's it. So that's all for this episode of the Drunken Fist Podcast. If we have show notes,
what's to come.
Yeah, I mean, if we have show notes on this, I don't really know what we will have. Maybe I'll tell you what, guys. If you're really interested, I'll look up.
Don't put show notes on this. We're all over the place.
Well, I'm just thinking though. It's like I do have a feeling that there might be some people that'll question some of the studies that I cited or I quoted that I might have even misquoted. But I will. I'll go back. I'll re-listen to this, hopefully sober, and I will put some show notes regarding some studies on alcohol and exercise or even martial arts. It might not even been the ones I talked about, but just for the sake of show notes, I'll do that. And you can find the show notes. where the hell can you? Oh yeah, at the website. You can find them at the website, drunkenfistpodcast.com.
All right, David, you're drunk. Go home.
Yeah, I'm not drunk, but anyway, we'll put it up there. We'll put it up there. Something that I do want to say though is whatever podcast listener you're listening this through, do us a favor if your podcast listener thing allows it. For example, Apple Podcast does, Stitcher does. What the hell else are we on? Spotify.
I do love.
If you could give us a quick rating, that would be awesome, because the more people that rate, that means there's going to be more people that will find us. Also, but more importantly, yes, I want people to find us, but this is it. If you're listening to us right now, what I want you to do is to snap a photo of you listening to this and go to Instagram, put it up on Instagram, tag us in it, and our handle is at Drunken Fist Pod. That's POD. Tag us in it and tell us where you're listening to us. What are you doing? What's up? So just like snap a shot, either of you listening to it, like with your headphones in, your earbuds, whatever you're doing. If you're mowing the grass, if you're drinking one with us, snap a shot, go to Instagram, tag us at Drunken Fist Pod, and let us know how you're listening. I would really appreciate that way more than a review, although reviews really do help. And if you want us to succeed and have other people listen, definitely review it and give it a 5-star rating.
Yeah, we can't do this without you guys.
Give it a 5-star rating, even if you don't like it. But whatever. Also, be sure to subscribe. You can find us at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, etc. Wherever good podcasts are found. You won't find us there, but search around and find us and subscribe. And the show is made possible by its fans. And to learn more about that, go to drunkenfistpodcast.com/fans. And until we hit the mats again, thanks for drinking with us.